Kim Jong Un, the enigmatic leader of the Hermit Kingdom. Part 1. The Hidden Prince. Welcome to English Parchment. If you are ready to master English by exploring the lives of the most powerful and mysterious figures in our modern world, you are in the right place. Please subscribe and like this video to support our community and stay updated with our weekly stories. Imagine a child born into a family that is treated like gods. A boy whose birthday is a secret, whose childhood was spent in total isolation, and who was hidden from the eyes of his own people for nearly 20 years. Imagine that this same boy would grow up to control a nuclear arsenal and lead one of the most isolated nations on Earth. This is the story of Kim Jong Un, the third leader of the North Korean dynasty. He is a man the world watches with both fear and curiosity, yet very few truly know who he is. Stay with us until the very end, because we are going to look behind the curtain of the Hermit Kingdom to see how a young basketball fan became the supreme leader of a nation at war with the world. Our story begins in the early 1980s. The exact year of Kim Jong Un's birth is actually a mystery. Some say 1982, others say 1984. He was the second son of Kim Jong-il and Ko Yong-hwe. In North Korea, the Kim dynasty began with his grandfather, Kim Il-sung, who is still officially the eternal president. Growing up, Kim Jong-un was a ghost. While his father ruled the country, the young prince lived in luxury palaces, protected by thousands of soldiers. He didn't go to regular schools in Pyongyang. Instead, his world was limited to private gardens, high walls, and expensive toys that most North Korean children couldn't even imagine. In the late 1990s, a strange thing happened. A young boy from North Korea arrived in Switzerland to attend an international school near Bern. He traveled under the name Pak Un and was described as the son of a diplomat. This was Kim Jong Un. For several years, he lived a normal Western life. He learned to speak German and English. He was obsessed with the NBA, especially Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. His classmates remember him as a quiet boy who loved Nike shoes and spent his weekends playing basketball. He was a student of the West, eating pizza and watching Hollywood movies, while his father's government continued to view the West as the ultimate enemy. This period in Switzerland is one of the most fascinating parts of his life. It was the only time he was truly free to see how the rest of the world lived. He saw the wealth, the freedom of information, and the technology of Europe. However, he was always accompanied by uncles and aunts, who were actually North Korean security agents. They made sure he never forgot who he was. In 2000, he suddenly disappeared from Switzerland and returned to Pyongyang. The Hidden Prince was going home to prepare for a destiny that was being written for him by his father. He was no longer Pak Un, the student. He was becoming the future of the Kim dynasty. Part 2. The Transition of Power. When Kim Jong Un returned to North Korea, he attended the Kim Il-sung Military University. He was being groomed, which means prepared, for leadership. However, for a long time, the world thought his older brother, Kim Jong-nam, would be the next leader. But in 2001, Kim Jong-nam was caught trying to enter Japan on a fake passport to visit Disneyland. This embarrassment changed the history of the country. The father, Kim Jong-il, decided that the younger, more disciplined Kim Jong Un was the better choice. Slowly, the North Korean propaganda machine began to introduce the young man to the public. In 2010, Kim Jong-un was promoted to the rank of a 4-star general, even though he had no real military experience. He was given the title of Brilliant Comrade. The North Korean media began to show him standing next to his father at military parades. The world finally saw his face for the first time. Many analysts in the West thought he looked like a young version of his grandfather, Kim Il-sung. This was not an accident. He even cut his hair and wore clothes that reminded people of the great leader. In North Korea, history and bloodline are everything. By looking like his grandfather, he was telling the people, "I am the true heir to the throne." The big moment came in December 2011. Kim Jong-il died of a heart attack while traveling on his private train. The country was plunged into state-mandated mourning. Millions of people cried in the streets of Pyongyang. At the center of the massive funeral was Kim Jong-un, walking next to his father's hearse in the snow. At only 27 or 28 years old, he was now the supreme leader. The world was skeptical. How could a young man who loved basketball and Swiss chocolate control an army of 1 million soldiers? Many expected the government to collapse or for older generals to take control, but they underestimated Kim Jong-un's will to survive. The first years of his rule were a period of consolidation. In politics, this means making your power stronger by removing your enemies. Kim Jong-un knew that there were people in the government who didn't respect him because of his age. He decided to act with total ruthlessness. He began a series of purges. High-ranking officials who were loyal to his father but not to him were removed or executed. The most shocking moment was the execution of his own uncle, Jang Song-thaek, who was considered the second most powerful man in the country. By removing his own family member, Kim Jong-un sent a clear message. "Loyalty to me is the only thing that matters. No one is safe." By 2013, the Hidden Prince had become the Iron Leader. He had successfully taken control of the military, the party, and the secret police. He was no longer in his father's shadow. He began to develop his own policy called Byungjin, which means parallel development. The idea was simple. North Korea would develop its nuclear weapons and its economy at the same time. He wanted his people to have food and electricity, but he also wanted them to have the most powerful weapons in the world. He believed that only a nuclear arsenal could protect his family and his country from a foreign invasion. The stage was set for a decade of global tension. Part 3. The Nuclear Path. Under Kim Jong-un, North Korea's weapons program accelerated. It moved much faster than ever before. While his father and grandfather had tested a few missiles, Kim Jong-un was obsessed with technology. He was often seen in photographs laughing with scientists and looking at blueprints. He wanted a missile that could reach the United States. He believed that if he had this power, the world would have to treat him as an equal. Between 2011 and 2017, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests and launched dozens of missiles into the sea. The year 2017 was the year of fire and fury. The tension between Kim Jong-un and the international community reached a boiling point. North Korea tested a hydrogen bomb that was far more powerful than any previous test. They also launched an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. that could theoretically hit New York or Washington, D.C. The United Nations responded with the harshest sanctions in history, trying to cut off the country's oil and money. The world felt like it was on the brink of war. Kim Jong Un and the American president, Donald Trump, exchanged insults, calling each other Little Rocket Man and a dotard. But Kim Jong Un was not just playing with fire. He was playing a complex game of Brinkmanship. This is a strategy where you push a situation to the limit to get what you want. He realized that once he had proven his nuclear power, he had more leverage. Suddenly, in 2018, the tone changed. He sent his sister, Kim Yo-jong, to the Winter Olympics in South Korea. He invited the South Korean president to Pyongyang. The hidden prince was ready to step out of his fortress and onto the world stage. He wanted to show the world that he wasn't a madman, but a statesman who was ready to negotiate. The first historic meeting took place in Singapore in June 2018. It was the first time a North Korean leader had ever met a sitting American president. The world watched in amazement as Kim Jong Un and Donald Trump shook hands in front of a row of flags. Kim Jong Un looked confident. He spoke about a new era and denuclearization. For a moment, it seemed like peace was possible. He went on to meet with the leaders of China and Russia, traveling in his famous olive-green armored train. He was no longer isolated. He was a major player on the global chessboard. However, the diplomacy eventually stalled. It stopped making progress. The United States wanted North Korea to give up all its nukes first. But Kim Jong Un wanted the sanctions to be lifted first. Neither side would move. By 2019 and 2020, the meetings stopped, and North Korea returned to testing missiles. Kim Jong Un had learned a valuable lesson. The world's attention is short, but nuclear weapons are a permanent guarantee of survival. He returned to his policy of isolation, but this time he was a much more recognized and powerful figure than when he started. He had successfully forced the world to accept North Korea as a nuclear state. Part 4. Life Inside the Fortress. To understand Kim Jong Un, we must understand what life is like for the 25 million people he rules. North Korea is often called the Hermit Kingdom because it is almost entirely cut off from the global internet and media. Inside the country, there is a total cult of personality. Every home, school, and office must have portraits of Kim Jong Un's father and grandfather on the wall. Kim Jong Un himself is presented as a father figure who takes care of his children. The state media shows him visiting factories, farms, and hospitals, giving on-the-spot guidance on everything from how to grow corn to how to build airplanes. Under Kim Jong Un, the capital city of Pyongyang has changed significantly. He has built luxury apartment towers, science centers, and even a water park and a ski resort. He wants the world to see a modern, successful country. However, these luxuries are mostly for the elite, the people loyal to the party. Outside of Pyongyang, in the rural provinces, life remains incredibly difficult. There are frequent power cuts, food shortages, and a lack of modern medicine. Most people live in a state of self-reliance, which is the national ideology called Juche. They are told that they don't need the rest of the world and that their struggle is a noble one. Information is the most dangerous weapon in North Korea. Kim Jong Un's government works very hard to stop foreign ideas from entering the country. South Korean dramas, K-dramas, and Hollywood movies are strictly forbidden. If you are caught with a USB drive containing foreign media, the punishment can be very severe. The country has its own intranet, called Kwangmyong, which only shows approved content. However, technology is a double-edged sword. More and more people have mobile phones, and even though they cannot call outside the country, information still moves through word of mouth. Kim Jong Un knows that if his people realize how much better life is in the South, his power will be in danger. The human cost of this isolation is high. International organizations have reported on a system of political prison camps where thousands of people are held for crimes against the state. This can include anything from criticizing the leader to trying to escape the country. In North Korea, there is a system called songbun, which classifies every citizen based on their family's loyalty to the regime. Your songbun determines where you live, what job you have, and even what university you can attend. It is a society of total control, where your neighbors and even your family members are encouraged to report on any suspicious behavior. Despite the sanctions and the isolation, the North Korean economy has found ways to survive. The country is famous for its cyber warfare capabilities. It is believed that a secret group of hackers, known as the Lazarus Group, has stolen billions of dollars in cryptocurrency and from international banks to fund the government. They also trade in coal, minerals, and weapons through ship-to-ship transfers in the middle of the ocean to avoid the police. Kim Jong Un has turned his country into a mafia state, a nation that operates like a secret organization to stay alive in a world that wants it to fail. Part 5. The Mystery of the Future. In recent years, the world has become obsessed with a new question. Who is next? Because Kim Jong Un's health is a frequent topic of speculation, meaning people guess about it, the future of the dynasty is uncertain. He is known to be a heavy smoker and to have a very stressful lifestyle. In 2020 and 2021, he disappeared from the public eye for several weeks, leading some to believe he was gravely ill. During these times, the world realized that there is no clear Plan B for North Korea. However, a new figure has emerged in the shadows. His sister, Kim Yo-jong. She is often seen standing behind him, holding his documents or his ashtray. But she is more than just an assistant. She has become the voice of the regime, giving angry speeches and issuing threats to the South. Some believe she is the most powerful woman in North Korean history and that she is being prepared to take over if her brother can no longer rule. The thought of a female leader in a very traditional, patriarchal society like North Korea is fascinating to many historians. In 2023 and 2024, Kim Jong Un began to show the world another secret. His daughter, Kim Joo-ae. He has taken her to missile launches, military banquets, and parades. She is often called the beloved daughter or the precious child. By showing her to the public, Kim Jong Un is sending a message. The Kim dynasty will continue for another generation. My children will inherit the nuclear weapons I have built. It is a way of telling his enemies that he is not going anywhere. He is building a nuclear monarchy that he expects to last for 100 years. The world today is a very different place than it was when Kim Jong Un took power in 2011. The relationship between the US, China, and Russia has changed. Kim Jong Un has recently become much closer to Russia, supporting their war in Ukraine in exchange for technology and food. He is no longer just a small player in Asia. He is part of a new global alliance. He has used the chaos of the 2020s to make himself more important. He knows that as long as the big powers are fighting each other, they will not have the time or the unity to stop him. As we look at the life of Kim Jong Un, we see a man who is a paradox. He is a basketball fan who builds bombs. He is a young man who rules with an iron fist. He is a leader who wants a modern country but keeps it in total darkness. He is a man who was hidden from the world and now cannot be ignored by anyone. His story is a reminder of the incredible power of a myth and the dangerous reality of a family that believes they are gods. Whether he is a madman or a genius, he has successfully kept his family in power against all the odds. Part 6. The Legacy of a Dynasty. What will history say about Kim Jong Un? To his supporters in Pyongyang, he is the great successor who brought the country into the nuclear age and protected it from the American imperialists. To them, he is a hero who stood up to the rest of the world. To the millions of people who live in fear or in prison camps, he is a tyrant who sacrificed the lives of his people for the survival of his throne. He is a man who chose guns over butter at every opportunity. His story is also a lesson in the power of education and perspective. The boy who attended school in Switzerland saw a world of freedom and chose to return to a world of control. This shows us that knowing about freedom is not the same as wanting it for everyone. He used the Western logic he learned to become a better Eastern dictator. He understood the psychology of his enemies and used it to survive. He is a product of both worlds, and that is what makes him so unique and so dangerous. For those of us learning English, the vocabulary of this story is the vocabulary of our modern world. Words like diplomacy, sanctions, dynasty, propaganda, and cybersecurity are part of the daily news. By understanding the story of Kim Jong Un, we are not just learning history, we are learning how to read the world around us. His life is a real-life thriller, a story of power, family, and survival that is still being written every single day in the heart of Pyongyang. In the end, Kim Jong Un is a man who was born into a cage of gold and turned it into a fortress of stone. He is a leader who is defined by his isolation. He is a reminder that in our connected world, there is still one place where the clock has stopped. As we watch him on our screens, we are looking at a living artifact from a different time. He is the last of his kind, a monarch in the age of the internet. How his story ends will determine the fate of millions of people and the security of our entire planet. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the life of Kim Jong Un on English Parchment. Exploring these complex figures is a powerful way to expand your English and your understanding of the world. If you found this journey fascinating and helpful for your learning, please subscribe and like this video. Your support helps us continue to bring these incredible stories to life. What do you think about the future of the Hermit Kingdom? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Keep exploring, keep reading, and keep learning. We will see you in the next story.